بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. Chapter number 53 says باب الجمع بين الخوف والرجاء. اعلم أن المختار للعبد في حال صحته أن يكون خائفا رجيا ويكون خوفه ورجاؤه سواء، وفي حال المرض يمحض الرجاء، وقواعد الشرع من نصوص الكتاب والسنة وغير ذلك متظاهرة على ذلك. Chapter 53, he says الجمع بين الخوف والرجاء. It's a combination between fear and hope. Combining between fear and hope. Fear of Allah and the hope for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His mercy and His forgiveness and His kindness. So the previous chapter is the virtue of fear of Allah and the virtue of hoping for Allah. In this chapter he says making a mix, marrying the two together and having a balance, not too much of this nor too little of that. So to fear Allah and His wrath and His anger and His punishment and the fire of hell, and at the same time hope for Allah's forgiveness for your shortcomings and for your imperfections, etc. So Islam, one of the most important guiding principles of the religion of Islam is balance. There's no question about that. It's balance. And if you sit down and think about it and look at the Quran and Hadiths and Islam as a way of life, you'll find that that's the central focus, is balance. And never being a zealot and being extreme in a thing and ignoring other things and picking and choosing what you want to stick fast and hold fast to and adhere to, and going so fast, so hard, and neglecting and abandoning other things. So balance in Islam is extremely important. Rather, not only is it extremely important, but we said it's one of the most important principles of the religion, is balance. And from the things in which you must have a balance in are these two, with regards to your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your relationship with Allah, to fear Him and at the same time hope for Him. And when a person just has fear and no hope, obviously we know the problems that would lead to. A person may want to kill himself. A person may stop trying. A person may give up. A person may say, I'm ruined. I have no hope. It's done. There's no point in me trying to do the right thing anymore. I've made sin. I've made a crime against myself. Khalas. And then those who have too much hope of Allah, they'll fall into the other extreme of feeling that Allah is going to forgive me. It doesn't matter what we do. God knows the situation. He knows the place we are. He knows the time in which we're in. Don't go so hard. Relax. As many people say today, yo, bro, just chill, relax. It's not that serious. You're making an extreme. Be easy, be simple, be a normal person. It's not that deep. Allah is going to forgive you. So we have people who fall into the extremes on both sides. Both sides. And the Muslim is never to belong to any of these two extreme sides. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, اعلم, he says, know for sure, أن المختار للعبد في حال صحته أن يكون خائفا رجيا. He says that the correct view, al-mukhtar, the correct stance, is that when the Muslim is healthy and strong, he should have fear of Allah and hope for Allah. He says that the correct stance is that when a servant is healthy, meaning the servant is not sick and ill on the deathbed, but you're going to work, you're getting up, you're eating, drinking, driving, flying, riding, swimming, you're daily to and from. You should have both fear of Allah and hope for Allah. So he says, al-mukhtar, that which is correct, meaning that there are other stances and other positions and opinions of people which aren't necessarily the most correct. He says, وَيَكُونُ خَوْفُهُ وَرَجَاؤُهُ سَوَاءً, and your fear and your hope should be equal. Neither of the two should be more than the other. وَفِي حَالِ الْمَرْضِ يُمَحَّضُ الرَّجَاءُ. He says, but when a person is sick and ill, meaning when they're towards the end of their life and Allah knows best, on their deathbed, then there should be pure hope. And fear is of no use at that time, he says. But hope for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. وقواعد الشرع من نصوص الكتاب والسنة وغير ذلك متظاهرة على ذلك. He says, in the principles and the maxims of the deen, yani we have a building, then we have a column, a major column that supports the roof, a foundation, qaida, something that you can build upon and sit upon and rest upon. We have that in al-Islam, major principles that are proven by the Quran and the Sunnah, which show us and teach us what to do in any situation. He says the text from the Quran and Sunnah, the Quran and the Hadiths, the ayat, the Hadiths, and these principles and other things, it shows us and it proves this to us, is that when a person is healthy, it should be balanced. When a person is sick and ill, then he should have good thoughts of Allah and look forward towards the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال الله تعالى فلا يأمن مكر الله إلا القوم الخاسرون. وقال تعالى إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. وقال تعالى يوم تبيض وجوه وتسود وجوه. وقال تعالى إن ربك لسريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم. وقال تعالى إن الأبرار لفي نعيم وإن الفجار لفي جحيم. وقال تعالى فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية. والآيات في هذا المعنى كثيرة فيجتمع الخوف والرجاء في آيتين مقترنتين أو آيات أو آية. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says فلا يأمن مكر الله إلا القوم الخاسرون. He says no one can feel safe from Allah's plan and Allah's what Allah wants to do and what Allah will do, except for people who are losers. فَلَا يَأْمَنُ. No one can feel totally safe from Allah's plan and His plot, except for those who are in loss. Allah is not going to punish us. We're going to live. We're going to enjoy ourselves. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to worry about. No one feels safe from that, except for those who are in loss. Allah Azza wa Jal, He also says, إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. No one despairs and loses hope from Allah's mercy except for those who are kafirun, those who are faith rejectors. Allah the Exalted, He also says, on the day in which faces will turn white and faces will turn black. Allah Azza wa Jal, He also says, indeed your Lord لَسَرِيعُ الْعِقَابِ. He's swift in His punishment. وَإِنَّهُ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And He is all forgiving and He is most merciful. Allah Azza wa Jal also says, indeed the abrar, the pious and the righteous, will be in a garden of happiness, na'im, pleasure and bliss. And indeed the fujjar, the wicked, will be in a fire, fi jahim. Allah Azza wa Jal, He also says, and as far as those whose scales are heavy, scale of good deeds are heavy, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. He will have a happy life in the hereafter. And as far as he whose scales are weak and light and thin, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٍ. He will burn. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. No, He says, and there are so many verses concerning this, in which the fear of Allah and the hope for Allah is mentioned what? In one verse. One verse. Those who do this, that, وهكذا. Good deeds, bad deeds, hellfire, paradise, white faces, black faces. Allah Azza wa Jal, لَسَرِيعُ الْعِقَابِ, severe, swift in punishment, and He is Ghafurur Rahim. He says there are many verses like this that all prove the excellence and the obligation and the virtue of having fear and hope of Allah and combining the two. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لو يعلم المؤمن ما عند الله من العقوبة ما طمع بجنة أحد ولو يعلم الكافر ما عند الله من الرحمة ما قنط من جنته أحد. رواه Muslim. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if the believer knew the punishment that Allah has, no one would seek paradise. If he truly knew the amount of punishment and the level of Allah's wrath. And if the kafir, the faith rejector, if they knew the mercy that Allah has with him, no one would despair from Allah's mercy. No one would give up. And no one would ever lose hope. And that hadith is collected by Imam Muslim. It's collected by Imam Muslim. وعن أبي سعيد رضي الله عنه وعن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا وضعت الجنازة واحتملها الرجاء أو واحتملها الناس أو الرجال فعلى عناقهم فإن كانت صالحة قالت قدموني قدموني وإن كانت غير صالحة قالت يا ويلها أين تذهبون بها يسمع صوتها كل شيء إلا الإنسان ولو سمعه صاعقة. رواه البخاري. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri narrates that the Messenger of Allah says, إذا وضعت الجنازة واحتملها الناس أو الرجال. He says that when the janazah is placed down and the men pick it up and they carry it on their shoulders and their necks, then it speaks, it talks. And if it's righteous, then that which it will say is قدموني قدموني, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, put me forth, take me to where I'm going to be buried. قدموني قدموني. And if it's not, if it isn't righteous, when كانت غير ذلك, if it isn't righteous, قالت يا ويلها, it will say woe to it. يا ويلها, it will speak, it will say woe to it. And this is a tremendous part of the hadith here. Notice that the hadith, when it speaks about the good and the positivity, it says قدموني, put me forth. And when it speaks about the soul, waliyadu billah, and the body, the janazah being wicked and foul, it doesn't say me, but it speaks in the what? The third person tense. Ya waylaha, woe to it. And it doesn't say woe to me. I would understand this. Hadith says, فَإِنْ كَانَ صَالِحَةً, if the man or the woman was righteous, it will speak and it will say, قَدِّمُونِي, put me forth. And if it says, وَإِنْ كَانَتْ غَيْرَ ذَلِكَ, and if it's wicked, it will say, يَا وَيْلَهَا, woe to it, and not woe to me. So did the Prophet ﷺ say these words, and the narrators narrated exactly as he said it? Or did the Prophet ﷺ say, "Ya way, woe to me," and the narrators changed it out of dislike of saying that? The hadith about the Prophet ﷺ's uncle, in which he died, and he says, "Huwa ala millati Abdul Muttalib." He's on the way of Abdul Muttalib. He's going to die upon the religion of Abdul Muttalib. Obviously, the one who said that was who? Was Abu Talib. Abu Talib was the one who said that. And Abu Talib would have normally said, Ana ala Abdul Muttalib. I'm dying upon the way of Abdul Muttalib. But that's not what it states in the hadith. The hadith says, Huwa. He, third person, once more. Some of the scholars of Islam, they say that this means is that the narrators of hadith, they dislike to even make that statement, even say those words. No one would like to say, I'm dying upon Millat Abdul Muttalib, but say, Huwa. Al-Muhim, the beauty of the Arabic language and the Quran and the Sunnah being given to us in this language, and the secrets behind this connection. The Arabic language and the Quran and the Sunnah. So if you stop and you think about that now, the good that's being mentioned, it directly says me. And the evil that's being mentioned, it says it. As if it's not even worth what? Speaking in the tense of me and I. That's something to think about. Al-Muhim, the hadith says, Ya waylaha, ayna tadhhabuna biha. Woe to it. Where are you taking it? Once again, it doesn't say, where are you taking me? But it says, where are you taking it? Yasma'u sawtaha kullu shay'in illa al-insan. Everything will hear its voice. Every living creature will hear its voice except for humans. And if humans heard the janazah speaking, they will pass out. They will fall unconscious if they heard it talking. So people that go to funerals and they cry and they wail and they say, and this is something that you have to be careful of when it comes to speaking about the good deeds of the bad, or of the deceased, or the bad deeds. And many people, they do it and they don't even realize it. They say, oh, our brother was such and such. We all know how our brother was. We all know. La. Jazakallahu khairan. It's not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to mention the virtue of the deceased at the time of the burial or at the time of death. Naam. Everyone understand this? That's not how it goes. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says that everyone will hear its voice except for humans. And if humans heard it, they will pass out. How many people are preoccupied? Is the point I'm trying to get to at the funeral. Whether it's getting drunk, drinking alcohol, whether it's flirting, whether it is fighting and arguing over inheritance or the lawyer or the estate, whether they're fighting over who's going to give the talk at the funeral, who's going to do this, who's going to be in charge, so on and so forth. People are so preoccupied at funerals, even so atrocious that you may find some people that fight at a funeral, do all types of crazy stuff at funerals. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says, if they heard the voice, it will what? It will pass out. So it goes to show you how heedless humans are. And sometimes they become so heedless that the janazah, and its original purpose, is to remind you of death. And the graveyard is supposed to remind you of death. فَإِنَّهَا تُذَكِّرُكُمُ الْآخِرَةِ. The Prophet says, visit graves, because visiting the graves reminds you of death. So people that become so preoccupied with so many worldly things, trivial things, and trifling based things that they don't even think about and reflect on what's going on. And the Prophet says, if they heard the voice, not of the punishment, just the voice here, they will pass out. So that's indeed, that's food for thought now. You may think, oh, my family member's in Jannah, my family member is going to paradise, he was an evil man, he was a wicked man. Allahu Alam, where that person is going. What's important is the spectacle of death, and that there is hope and there's also fear. If it's a righteous person, it will say, put me forth. And if it's a wicked person, it will say, woe is it, and where are you taking it? That's the highlighting point, what? From the hadith, is that both were what? Mentioned. The good and the bad. You understand this? The good and the bad. The last hadith of the chapter says, وَعَنِ ابْنِ مَسْعُودٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ قَالَ قَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ الْجَنَّةُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَىٰ أَحَدِكُم مِّن شِرَاكِ نَعْلِهِ وَالنَّارُ مِثْلُ ذَلِكَ. رواه البخاري. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, paradise is closer to you, paradise is closer to one of you. He says, min shiraki na'lihi. He says, then the thong of his sandal, the lace of his shoe or his boot. And the fire is like that as well. And the fire is like that as well. And this hadith has been collected by Imam al-Bukhari, and it clearly shows the good and the bad, and to have hope and to have fear, and how close paradise can be, and how the fire of hell also can be close. We ask Allah for protection from that. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.